Hi, welcome to Dear Art Producer. I am your host, Heather Elder. Today is February 5th, 2021, and I have invited Mattison Becker, an integrated content producer based in Philadelphia with Digitas Health, to be our guest today. I have known Mattison for a while and have always enjoyed working with her. And when she's not working, she's probably with her two dogs or brewing some good coffee to sip while reading a new book. Welcome, Mattison. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you. Happy to be here.
Aren't you supposed to say good enough? I think.
That's right. That's right. See, I told you, it's an auto response.
It is an auto response. What are your two dog names?
My oldest one is Blue. We've had him for, I guess, 6 years now. He's 10, an Australian cattle dog, and our newest addition was pretty much a pandemic puppy. And I never intended to get a puppy, but I stumbled across her and she just melted my heart. Her name's Stevie. She's also an Australian cattle dog, and they look like they were meant to be.
Oh, that's so sweet. I have two as well. I have Fenway and Teddy, and they're both English cream golden retrievers. And when we sent out our Christmas card this year, none of my kids, I have three kids, could decide. Oh, we actually didn't even have a good picture. Like, we spent most of the year together, and even though they're older, we didn't have a good picture, so we put our dogs on the front.
Yeah.
And we basically said dogs won 2020 because literally they did. They were so happy this entire 2020 because everyone was home and they got so much love and so many walks.
I heard a story about a dog who sprained its tail because it was wagging it so much.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
Their owner being home.
Oh my God. Okay, we have to stop talking about dogs because I think we could do it literally for the whole hour.
For the whole yeah.
All right. Well, let's kind of get to the point at hand here. I always think a great place to start is just to have you explain a little bit about your path to your job and what it is that you do. I think, an integrated content producer takes on a lot of different meaning for different people. So let's hear how you define it.
Yeah, I went to school and had a passion for photography for college. And as I worked through that, I realized that while I love photography, that wasn't my career path of choice. I knew that at least that's not what I wanted to do. Didn't know what I wanted to do. And I actually found my path because a previous art producer who is now running her own business came to teach at Drexel my senior year. And I found that that's what I wanted to do. So I just bugged her until she hired me. And I had no idea what agency life was like or the endless possibilities that were outside of the photography career path until I stumbled into Digitas Health shortly after graduating. And at first, our roles were very art buyer, print production, photography focused. But as the industry changed and really like motion and animation, and they all exist together now, as most people probably have found. And so through that, I just had to grow into this role where now I can produce everything. And I love it. I love the variety of video and animation and illustration and photography and CGI. There's never a dull moment. So
that's true. It's funny that you say not funny, but it's great to hear you say you had to grow and how exciting it is. Because I remember a couple, years ago when art buyers were turning into art producers and then became into, like integrated content producers. There was so much conversation around what did that look like? And the learning curve was pretty steep for some people. And it was really exciting when the conversation then turned to how happy they were and how exciting it was and how they had all these new skill sets. And they were so thankful to have had the opportunity to evolve because the industry was evolving and they were wondering, they were scared. Where were they going to fit in? And now they all have these great integrated roles and have learned so much along the way.
Exactly. I was kind of told after a certain point, like, this is where your path stops, or you can adapt and learn and grow into a new path. And so I'm sort of the first one to because I lead photography at DH right now, and producing is producing. Everyone can do it, but I'm kind of the first one who really has been tackling all of it. And we used to be very divided where there was the video and the motion producers and then the two photography producers. And I was like, no, I want to do all of it. So here I am.
So do you find that, or in your experience, have broadcast producers or producers that primarily only did video and now they have to do print, do you find that that transition was easy for them, or do you find that they were resistant or reluctant?
I would say nothing against any of them. It's just a huge undertaking to lead a broadcast spot.
Yeah.
So most of them didn't, they wanted somebody else, whether it was a print producer or just, a second producer to help
Mhm.
out with the print component because they already had so much on their plate for broadcast. So I think if I wasn't an option to help out on those shoots, they of course would have figured it out and handled it with grace. But it's still a situation where I'm actually bringing in two other producers to help with photography on these bigger broadcast spots so that the broadcast producer can just focus on the broadcast and we have a designated photography producer to help them.
Yeah. And I think that's so important to point out, right? It's not just you need to have one person who understands both. It's recognizing the complexity of the job and what roles are needed in order to manage it most efficiently.
Exactly.
Because a true broadcast production is enormous, and there are so many details that it's no wonder that print could fall through the cracks if you didn't have somebody dedicated to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
And the fact that you understand how broadcast or motion or video, whatever it is, works makes you that much more of an asset.
Yeah. It gives me the ability to make things more efficient so that their jobs are easier.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. It sounds like you guys have it dialed in really perfectly there. Okay, we'll talk about adapting and evolving. We all had to do a lot of that last year and are still doing that. Has your role changed at all because of COVID?
Not necessarily, but I think that's because we were already our producers, at least at DH, we love really leaning into the client service aspect of it. I think we tend to go above and beyond for our clients and kind of act as I don't know, an extension of our account teams to really make all of our productions a full, supported experience for the clients. And we are a part of that hand holding, I think, more than is required just by the description of our jobs. So I would say one of the things that we found most important through all this like remote production in COVID was making sure the clients are comfortable and know what's going on at every second because we're not there on set. Like there's no way to really tell or see what's happening and they always want to know that everything's moving forward and there's no issues and whatever. And typically if you're in Video Village, you can see all that happening. Where now you can't. You're at liberty to when the feed is turned on and turned off. So I think our role just became much more communicative between the production teams and our clients directly, just going over the top with updates and what's happening when and why you're not seeing something on the screen now and when you will and how we're going to address their feedback and all of that.
Yeah, I remember last year when we were doing the Where We Are Now webinars, which you were a guest on. That was always such a big topic because we all had to be good communicators all the time anyway. But now had to be managed to a very different level, and the communication that had to exist before a shoot had to be there had to be so many details worked out. That dance that was going to happen on set had to be completely choreographed beforehand. And then the communication that happens during the set, during the shoot, right? Does the photographer want to hear noise in the back, hear people chattering in the background, or does he just want to work? Or does the client want to be part of these conversations, or the agency want the client to be part of these conversations? Or do we take them off and then talk offline and then come back to them? Like there was so much that had to be managed technologically as well
Yeah.
for that. And I think that's hard. I think that's really hard. And to be an art producer, and I see them on the Zooms of shoots when I pop in to say hi, they're like an air traffic controller.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
lot.
basically.
It's a lot. But it's nice I know a lot of people have to think about that stuff. So that's great that you guys are on it. So Were you shooting at the end of last year?
Oh yeah, we did our first big production since shutdown in August of last year, and it was the production was in Montreal and we were in Pennsylvania, and our clients were lucky enough to be with us, so we all quarantined and co-located together. So at least we eliminated the that one stream of communication virtually and had our clients in person with us. But the whole shoot itself was virtual in Montreal, and that kind of set the stage for our agency. Where moving forward, we always tried to at least get the agency team together in one spot, and if so, the clients could attend. But most of them are not from Pennsylvania, so we actually set the standard, and then production took off after that. Everyone realized like, oh, it is possible and it is doable, and it was a success. So we had, between all of our brands that we produce for, I think we must have had like 20 shoots.
That's fabulous. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that's so great. I think I might want you to repeat that because there are people out there who aren't shooting and are afraid to be shooting, and just to hear that you've done it and done it successfully is really, really
Yeah.
exciting.
I mean, it was very hard at first. And lots of people were scared and nervous, and I give huge credit to our clients and our brand teams for trusting that we could make it work and deliver something for them that was the quality that was expected regardless of a pandemic. And lots of problem solving and troubleshooting, and I think transparency with our clients really was crucial, because there were times that it was hard, or we couldn't do something that we would normally have done, or quality in one thing suffered, but we had a solution to make up for it, or whatever it was. And yeah, we had all types of, we had broadcast shoots, we had studio shoots inside with COVID, we had outdoor shoots, we had completely remote shoots where patients or talent was self shooting, or we delivered those drop kits, all types of things. And once you do it, I think you realize like, okay, I have the skill set to just navigate any turn that comes my way as a producer. And you just deal with it like everything else, and after that it's like, production's no problem now.
That's fantastic. I remember when the first photographers in our group went out there and tested within the COVID protocols, right? They wanted to prove to themselves, one, that they can do it, and two, that they could actually create meaningful content within those protocols. And they did. They did it. And they felt really confident then when they had to get on set with their clients. And it's really awesome to hear you say the same exact thing. Like, it's happening out there. People are shooting and it is possible, and you can create meaningful content and relevant content for your clients.
Yeah.
Well, given what a great job you have done, I don't know how relevant this question is, but is anybody hesitant? Any of your clients hesitating to produce? And if they are, what is holding them back right now? Or do you find that everyone is kind of on board because they've had good experiences so far?
I think that we have had no hesitation, which we are lucky. And there's been some, not to producing in general, but like how to go about the production. Maybe there's been some hesitation, or just we have to work through the pros and cons of doing remote or doing an in-person shoot, or where do we shoot? Do we shoot in the U.S. or do we shoot abroad, or whatever it is. So I would say we're lucky that there has not been hesitation. That we have so much trust from our clients and so much capability to offer them. It's more about working through the best scenario possible, I think.
So, in all of your productions, have you come across anything unique that has helped you on set, or maybe a unique approach to production, or anything you can share with the people who are listening about something you might have tried, that you're just like, okay, this is a life hack that I now can't live without?
Honestly, we try to keep it really basic. So I feel like the only thing I would say most people are already doing, where you have you just need to streamline communication. I think that's the best thing. We've had a lot of success with a few different platforms beyond Zoom, so maybe this is something that's helpful. But typically we'll have the motion or the main capture stream on Zoom with all the clients and the breakout rooms and whatever. And then for photography or like getting one of our video creatives or our creative directors in the ear of the director or the DP or somebody who's on set where we can't be there, a direct line through something like Discord or which is push to talk. So it's almost like having a walkie on set, but you're obviously not there. Um, or join me for photography stream so that the client can have Zoom open for video, and then when it's time for photography, they can just flip on the join me. And that also works in a similar fashion where it's like a walkie or a Zoom stream where you can chat or, just share your capture screen or whatever it is. Um, having those other platforms available, I think, makes it feel more like you're there than just watching a Zoom stream.
Yeah, that's great. And I think, like you said, the more you do it, the more people become comfortable with it and understand how what their role is in it.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny. The shoot that I was last at in Florida, which actually we bid Brett on, and he just unfortunately didn't get it because the client chose somebody else. I called him.
Oh yeah, we were sad. We missed you.
Yeah, I know. I was so
Always
bummed.
happy to be
I wanted
included
Brett so bad, but it's fine. It all turned
next
out
time.
great. I
It
love.
all worked out in the end.
Yeah, I loved every I wouldn't put a photographer up for a job that I didn't love. So ultimately, it's fine. But I was in the middle of nowhere, Florida, and the Wi-Fi for whatever reason, all of our Wi-Fi boxes just were not working. So I honestly ended up FaceTiming my creative and just letting him watch the shoot while I was holding my phone, FaceTiming him, and that's how we communicated. So like that was real time. That was amazing. He didn't have to wait for a Dropbox link to come in like hours later. So that was just something that was kind of hilarious.
That is funny.
We
Well,
had to
true
do.
producer mode, Madison. You made it
Yeah.
happen.
My sole purpose was holding an iPhone for
Uh,
FaceTime.
well, and it's funny too because in a normal world, right? If we had never had COVID, if something like that happened on set, you'd be like, "Wait, I got to show this to my creative director on FaceTime." Like, no way.
Oh
Like
my, yeah, people would
that's
be
not going to fly.
livid. And my
And
team was like, well, I guess if that's
yeah,
how we see it, that's how we see it.
exactly. And they're like, "Okay, that looks
Yeah,
great."
yeah. Everyone was just happy that they could see something happening.
Yeah, that's fantastic. All right. Well, what does your next month look like? Can you share some details about, what kind of things you're being asked to produce?
Yeah, I have 1,000 COVID tests in my future, which I'm totally fine with. I said this morning, like, I like going to shoots because it gets me tested every day. And it's just
Yeah.
a nice thing that is a benefit. Um, so I tested myself this morning, and then I drive to Baltimore for like a you know doctor interview in a studio on Wednesday next week, and then we're going to be in person for that, and then the following day we're doing the same thing for the same client, same brand, but in Florida. So we're all just kind of staying put in the location for the next day and viewing the whole thing remote. So it's one shoot that one day we're doing it the traditional way and the next day we're doing it the COVID way. And then I come back, I take more COVID tests in my 1 day layover between shoots, and I get on a plane and go to Canada where, oh, God forbid they don't let me in, but I think they will. Um, I quarantine for 2 weeks with the rest of the crew, and then we have a 7 day studio shoot.
Oh my gosh. Okay, wait. What about your doggies in all of this?
I know. Well, luckily I have a very understanding life partner
Okay,
who
good.
will be accompanied by two dogs in my absence.
Okay, that's good. Phew, I was worried. Okay, well, it sounds like you have a really full month, which is awesome and exciting. And I hope all your COVID tests go well.
Me too.
Let's talk a little bit about estimating. Obviously, COVID safety protocols take up a part of your estimate now.
So much.
Wondering though about the time it's taking to complete a project. Are you finding that what would have been a 2 day shoot is maybe now a 3 day shoot? Or are you finding that you can be just as efficient or as well of an oiled machine as you were before?
I would say it is fair to allow more time. It's not always been out of the 20 shoots that we've done so far, most of them we've allowed for more time than we would typically normally want to allow for, because clients want safety to be, and of course we do too as the agency, everybody does want safety to be the number one priority. And they understand COVID costs are not like it's expensive and you should do it right. And, you know, it's really important to just have that cost in there. So nobody has batted an eye at costs or timing related to COVID. They're just like, if we're going to do this, let's do it in the safest way possible.
I found the same thing, and it's not like all of a sudden they miraculously find all of this budget for adding a day, but it's more that the expectations are in line and they recognize and they plan the scope accordingly so that they do have adequate time to produce something.
Yeah. Yep.
Because it's important. We have done shoots where, we have enough time and then all of a sudden the client decides they want to add more shots. And, being the agreeable production team, everybody always wants to say yes and they try it. And in those situations, sometimes it's just not a good idea because people start to move fast and let their mask down or get too close, or like there's not enough time to maintain the protocols in the way that you intend to if you are too busy or you have too much on your plate.
Oh, there she goes. I thought there was an Amazon package coming. It's fine.
Emphasizing the point.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about treatments? Do you see them increasing or decreasing? How much do you really use them? There's so much work on our end and the photographer's end. Wonder if you have any suggestions that might help them.
It's tough because I absolutely know how much work goes into a solid treatment. And, a lot of creatives, if I'm being very honest, don't read them because creatives don't read things. So it's a very tricky balance of putting together something that really sells you as a potential hire, but doesn't get lost in, the time that creatives don't have to absorb all that information. But I would say 9 times out of 10, a treatment is the defining factor for a job. Clients will read it. They are very reader friendly with things that we're presenting to them. They love to just take it and sit with it and digest it, which maybe we're unique in that respect. I think treatments, a call can go great or it can not go so great, and treatments are the way to redeem yourself or really nail, like drive home whatever point you were trying to make, because calls happen so fast and people forget. I think for us and the way we handle bidding jobs and presenting things to our creatives and our clients, treatments are really still important. And then an additional thing that came out of COVID is a new element in the treatment to have you worked remotely? Have you worked on a COVID set? How have you handled the technical issues or aspects of producing in COVID? So, or, being on a set in COVID. So that has been a new, almost like chapter in a treatment that I'll ask for.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. I do hear from a lot of buyers and producers that clients really want to work with people that are kind of known quantities right now, have either done it before or they've worked with them before. It's not necessarily a chance to try. Well, I don't want to say it's not a time to try someone new, but they don't want to be the first one that someone's trying it out on.
Yes. And I would say, going back to the hesitancy thing, that is something that clients are hesitant to try to experiment with new artists or talent that, no one in their network or our network has had experience working with, COVID or not.
Yeah, exactly. I told you earlier, we're representing a new photographer. And before we signed them, I reached out to a couple of clients that I knew to see if they had ever worked with them before or knew of them or just what their perception was. And they said, we absolutely know them, but we've never worked with them. And, one or two of them said, and in COVID, like I've put them up for jobs, but because no one here knew them or their rep well, they didn't get far in the process. but knowing that they work with you now will make a difference, meaning me. And I thought, okay, that is literally what I'm hearing across the board from people. It's like they may not have worked with the photographer, but they have experience with the rep or they have experience with the producer. And as long as somebody in the chain has worked with that person before, that's enough to get further down or further up the consideration list.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can see that, like, it's a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot's riding on it. And, and you've got a lot of good choices out there. So do you find that your clients are choosing the photographers based on your recommendation, or are they choosing whoever they want? Because you're presenting three fantastic bids, so maybe you don't even have a reco all the time.
It goes a lot of way, a lot of different directions. I think it depends on the clients. It depends on what else is going on in their world right now. Because, for example, Brett didn't get the job we bid for Florida because the client's like peer essentially had used him for their other huge brand taking off, and he felt like, and this is like a little bit of inside whatever, but he didn't want to just do what they had already done. He wanted to have his own campaign that felt very unique and specific to him, and he just had a different preference, even though we had a strong recommendation for Brett. So my recommendation, I think, often carries a lot of weight to the creative team, and they trust me and what I have to say about whoever we're working with. And I do try and give them a point of view because I'm invested in this project just as much as they are. I want it to go well, and I often have a preference based on who I just think is right for it. It's not necessarily, negative against anybody else, but
Right.
of course I want every project to be perfect, and not every project is perfect for every photographer and vice versa. So,
Well, and that's what the process is for, right? The treatments,
right,
the
yeah,
calls, all of that stuff. Like you get a sense, and it's why you're one of the reasons you're there. Like what you bring to the table in terms of your insights into that process is valued.
exactly. Yeah. And I never want to like hurt anyone's feelings, but there's so many variables as to why we choose somebody, and I am lucky that my creatives consider my input important and valuable, and I can have weight when I feel like I need to. And a lot of times that weight carries into the creative team, which they'll have an opinion for other reasons than I do. And I would say most of the time our clients do lean into our recommendation, but sometimes they just have their own reasons for going against what we feel is right. And then, we're ultimately all here to do a job. So whatever they pick, we're going to do it to the best of our ability and make it
Yeah.
successful.
It's really great to hear that. And as we were talking about treatments and we said there's so much work that goes into it, I've heard photographers say, like, by the time I'm done with a treatment, I've pretty much produced the job in my mind, right? It's shot, it's done, it's everything. And I'm so emotionally invested in it that when they don't get the job at that point, it's more of a downer than it would be if they hadn't created the treatment. But hearing you say that, how much input and thought process and consideration goes into, sharing it with the client and then having the client's input, I think that's really helpful to hear. And I always ask, when we don't get a job, I always go back to the art producer and just ask for a little bit more insight into why, because I know all those conversations are happening, and it's really helpful to share that with the team who worked on it that didn't get it. And sometimes I know we don't. There's really just there's not an easy answer. Sometimes you can't put your finger on one thing or another. It's just they just chose that person. But hearing you say all of that stuff is really helpful.
Yeah, and I think I totally understand how much investment goes into it and how much of a bummer it is when it doesn't work out. But we can tell when there is no emotional investment, and that has a bigger impact on somebody not getting the job. So I would
Oh,
say,
that's so
you know,
interesting. Yeah.
investing that way is gonna give you a leg up, and it shows, and it also leaves a lasting impression. So maybe you didn't get that job, but people like me certainly and creatives will remember how much a person really thought through something, and that will last and come back in a good way.
Well, you got to play to win, right? And I've
Yeah.
always said that, if it takes us 10 treatments or 10 times estimating with someone to get a job, then bring on the opportunities so I can get there.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so I think it's all important part of the process for sure. All right. So do you feel like there's anything in the process that either clients and agencies need to be better educated about, or photographers and reps need to be better at it? Like, are you running into like roadblocks sometimes where you're just like, God, like, why don't they get that? Or do you kind of feel like everyone pretty much knows the deal?
I would say the only thing that I run into often is clients are, they have just a harder time visualizing something before it's come to life, which is fine. That's why they enlist us to help them get there. And, by nature, we obviously hire a professional photographer to get us there in the end. So I think going through the process, sometimes it can be difficult to help the client realize what will happen, what will come to life without actually bringing it to life first. So that's just, I always ask photographers to present some visual backup as best they can, because often our clients just, they're not visual learners. Their strategy and their marketing, whatever.
Yeah.
Our job is to be the visualists, essentially. And then the other thing is how much time things actually take. They're not necessarily always production savvy, or don't have a lot of experience being on a set or seeing how things kind of all work together to get to our end goal of assets and
Well, we're all translators, right? We don't all speak each other's language, the
yeah,
creative language,
yeah,
the production language, the client language, the marketing, whatever. So we have to, especially your role and mine, we have to really make sure that like what the photographer tells me, if I have to tell you, I can speak your language, right? The photographer might not do a really good job telling you what they want to tell you. Like they need the filter through me to say it, or the other way around through the creative or the client or something. So
exactly.
I do think our job comes down to being good translators for sure. Okay, well let's move on to marketing. Are you like how are people marketing to you right now? Like photographers, reps, directors. Obviously it's probably email. Is that
Yes,
how people are
most of it
in
is
touch?
still email. I do occasionally get some mailers, which I appreciate, because I've had to leave all my favorite promos and like swag things that people used to send me at the office behind. I haven't been there in over a year almost. And I miss, seeing reminders of all these great people that I've worked with or talent that's out there. So I am still a big fan of sending mail. I know it's obviously not financially practical in this environment, but I do occasionally still get some, and I appreciate that. And then it's a lot of email, Instagram, social media interaction. A few people have done like video, not necessarily, I guess, portfolio reviews, sort of, just like little reels that I can send around, which has been really great and fun. It's all digital now, which makes me
Yeah.
sad. I miss the in-person meetings and the coffee dates and the portfolio reviews, but
Yeah, no, I know. I think about what it is I'm going to do when we can all kind of get back at it. And I'm thinking, gosh, I don't want to go and do a portfolio review. I want to go and like take you out for coffee or go have dinner and like
oh
be
yeah, I want to go
social.
big. I want a freaking party.
I want to party. Exactly.
Like,
Gosh,
I want a beer garden, outdoor. Fine, we'll keep it
yep.
outdoor. Party.
Exactly right. Every year, Marianne Campbell and I throw a party in New York, and um, we did it in October, and I really not this October, right? So we missed this October's one, obviously, but it's the first year in probably 12 or 13 years we didn't have one. So I really hope next year we can have it because it's going to be a blowout. Like
Yeah, yeah. It is tough. Like, I think we've all realized how much we took for granted, and the simplest things like a coffee date or going out to dinner with somebody and just catching up is going to be the most magical thing when we can finally do it comfortably.
Exactly. Well, is anybody reaching out to you for appointments? Like I know you said you've like passed around some videos and stuff and you've had some kind of coffee Zooms, but is anybody reaching out to like share a portfolio with you online and you're looking at it, or are you just kind of like send me the link? That's really the easiest for me to look at the website on my own kind of thing.
Yeah, I haven't really had anyone directly reach out. People will send me an email with their link and say, "Hey, check it out, and if you have any thoughts, please respond or get back to me or whatever." But not necessarily like a meeting of sorts.
And then what about, we talked, we're joking about how we want to have a big party, but like when we do get back in a world where you might be going into the office, do you think do you think portfolios will have to evolve because of this, or the idea of a portfolio show or a portfolio presentation? People are asking me, do I think the printed portfolio is dead? And I have very strong opinions about it, and I don't. But I'm wondering what you think.
It's so strange because I work with a huge variety of types of people in the creative department, and some of them are younger and just want to look at the website, and like even when we did have portfolio reviews, it was tough to get people out of their desks
Yeah.
or away from a deadline to just go look at a book. But then I have other people who are like, "Well, when are they sending books?"
Right.
Well, I can ask. People don't usually do that now, but sure. So it's funny. I have both perspectives, and I love looking through a beautiful book. There's just nothing that compares. To me, it's more overwhelming to sit there and like scroll through a website or like click through thumbnails. I would rather sit and like actually detach from anything else and page through a book.
Yeah.
But I know, creatives are so busy and producers are so busy that sometimes it is just easier to quickly glance through a website or an overview page or something to just get the idea. And then once you get really into a bid or something, obviously take more time with the work. But
We're working on it's actually done. It's just not promoted yet. A whole new portfolio experience with one of our photographers, Cade Martin. So when I have it all ready, I'm going to share it with you, and you can tell me what you think. It was originally designed to enhance the actual portfolio show presentation before COVID hit. And then we had to adapt, obviously, because it's not a printed version of this portfolio. So we had to adapt it. And I think it came out really cool. And I'm really excited about it. So we'll be sharing more about it soon. But when it's ready for public consumption, I'm going to send it along to you and maybe you can give me your feedback.
yeah, definitely.
Great. Well, we're almost done here, and I always ask the same two questions at the end. The first one is, "What is your favorite thing to do on a Sunday?" And the last one is, "If you weren't a producer, what would you be?"
On Sundays, I breakfast is my favorite meal of the day. I love to indulge in a long process of breakfast. So that's probably two or three coffees over like a couple hours, cooking, all the things that I love to eat, sitting with some music playing in the background, just reading even like I still get a newspaper. Not a lot of people do that, but my mom always did it, and it's just become like a thing that I still love to do.
That's great.
Um, so just like almost like taking a moment to mentally prepare myself for the stress and not downtime that I'm going to have for the next 6 days or whatever it
Yeah.
is.
Right.
Um, and then if I wasn't a producer, it's still my dream, and it's going to happen one day. I want to own a cafe and also run like a dog rescue or like a dog park attached to the cafe or something. Like I want to have a space where people can come do that Sunday ritual that I love so much, and just it's a place where you come and be in your own head or do whatever you need to do. People leave you alone, or maybe you make friends there. I don't know, whatever it is, a safe space cafe. And there has to be dogs involved.
Oh my God, I love it. All right, I'm going to introduce you to my daughter. because she's about to graduate from college, and whenever you talk to her about what she wants to do, there has to be some sort of dog thing involved. She's the one that
Love
will
it.
have like 20 dogs on a big farm, and she could never be a breeder, she says, because she'd never give the dogs away. So
Oh yeah. If I like ran a shelter or fostered, I would end up keeping them all. So dog farm is right in line with my dream.
that's hysterical. Yeah, she's like, Mom, I can't. I'm always like, well, Casey, you'd be an amazing breeder. She's like, Mom, I would never give them away. And I was like, okay, you're right.
Yeah.
Just cute. So anyway, Madison, this was fantastic. I feel like I got to know you even better, and I've learned so much about your agency and how you approach things. And this Sunday, I will imagine you making breakfast when I make mine with my new mini waffle maker, um,
Amazing.
and petting my dogs. So thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.